Apple slashes iPad production. Are they doomed? Spoilers, no. Production of the iPad was down 50% from Apple's original plans for the past 2 months, sources briefed on the matter said, adding that parts intended for older iPhones were also being moved to the iPhone 13. Apple foresees stronger demand for the iPhone 13 models, especially in the month immediately following the launch that led into the holiday season. Nevertheless, demand for the iPads also remains strong, with total iPad shipments in the first 9 months of this year totaling 40.3 million, up 17.83% from the same time a year ago, according to the IDC data. And remember, a year ago, we were all working from home and everyone was buying electronics. That's why a lot of this chip shortage happened. So this is like kind of mind-blowing that not only are the iPhone 13s doing so well when everyone really at the launch was saying, but is it really any different from the 12? I mean, it obviously is, but even Steve Wozniak doesn't seem to be able to tell the difference. So yeah, no, you can understand why people might think it's not that big of a deal. However, people seem to think it's that big of a deal. Like, it's kind of mad that Apple is like, we're going to have to stop making these iPads, lads. We need the bits. We need to make more iPhone 13s. So I'm going to say, just for right now, Apple probably not doomed. Although this next bit of news is not looking as good for Apple. TSMC is having some transition issues, which means the 2022 iPhones might not be moving production nodes on their chips. Doesn't look like we're getting 3nm chips in the iPhone 14, and that also then rolls into the Mac. Obviously, it's very difficult for us to do anything about it from outside of the production chain, but I've heard that if you subscribe to my channel, then that is going to help increase production. But according to sources, TSMC have been having trouble perfecting the 3nm production process, which would allow Apple to use more energy efficient chip designs in the iPhone and other products. This difficulty means that Apple will be trapped on the same 5nm process for 3 consecutive years, which is a first for the company. Now, when you change production nodes, it basically means that the electrons don't have as far to go. That reduces heat somehow, I guess. It's all very complicated, okay? These things are tiny, and yeah, we're getting down to the point where electrons might be bigger than the chips. I don't know. It's just some crazy stuff going on. And I know it sounds like we're getting to, if we got to 3nm, where can you go from there? I mean, obviously 2, you do start to get into some quantum issues where electrons will tunnel so they don't kind of cover the space in between, so they can jump between it's hard apparently, and TSMC agree. And my final bit of news, and this might not be something that matters to anyone else, but Transformers Tactical Arena lands on Apple Arcade this Friday. Now, I know what you're about to say, this is not a gaming channel, but this is Transformers, guys. Transformers are important to me. I'm a massive fan still of Transformers, like right from back in the 80s. I had the originals. This is an original Grimlock. The rest of the Dinobots are all here. If you haven't seen them, they did feature in my desk setup tour, but my son Little Ted has now got into Transformers as well, so it's really cool because I get to be the dad who gets to buy the toys that I want to play with myself. So that's really fun. And this Transformers Tactical Arena game, like, I don't know if it's going to be any good. Most of these kind of card-based, real-time strategy games suck really hard, but mainly because they try and make you buy stuff all the way through. And that's kind of what Apple Arcade does well, is it takes all of that crap out of the way and just lets you play the game. So I'm in two minds. I will have a look at it. I might do a little mini review of it over the weekend, something like that. But let me know if there's anything on Apple Arcade that you think is really good. Fantasian is obviously great. NBA 2K22 is now out, which is like the updated version of the one that came out with Apple Arcade. That's pretty cool too. But there are some really good games on there. I still find myself playing like Zookeeper a lot more than anything else. And into your iCave answers, the first one comes in from James Apple. Will the next Apple event be called Spring Reloaded? Hashtag iCave answers. And I believe this is based on a question that he asked yesterday when he asked me what would come out at Spring Reloaded. And I just kind of went with it. And now I think I don't think it's going to be called that. I think it would be kind of fun if they did. But Apple always comes out with something creative. They never really kind of riff on what they did last year. Apple is starting to riff a lot on what they did years and years ago, with things like the new Mac designs being quite retro-inspired. But I don't think it's going to be called that, but you know, it could be. And in all honesty, what's in the name? Next up, Rigsec asks, ICAV answers. With all of the benchmarks coming out with the M1 Pro base MacBook Pro, it seems that the performance boost is about 25% and the graphics around 50%. Do you think you will go with the base Mac Mini Pro with M1 Pro, or wait until M2, which should see about 25% performance bump in single core and have 2 additional graphics cores? That is a really good point. Maybe there isn't as much point in having a base level one, because you are going to get the performance boost in every core when we get to the M2. We'll see. I think M2 is probably not going to be quite 25% per core. I think we're probably going to be looking closer to about 18 to 20%. I think that's what happened with the iPhone 12 to 13 jump, but not so much when we get to the graphics. That's where we get that 50% bump in graphics performance, 55%. And yes, the extra cores might give that much as well. So it's going to be a difficult one. I would personally like to go a little bit beefier on the desktop Mac Mini. Maybe even go up to a Max chip. Not sure yet, but we will see. And I am still looking at potentially getting the M2 MacBook Air anyway. Gaylord Fokker asks, ICAV answers, when do you think Universal Control will be released? And this has been one of those things that, Apple, please just let us play with it. It was the coolest looking thing at WWDC. If you don't know what Universal Control is, basically allows you to put an iPad or another Mac or whatever you want kind of around your Mac. macOS kind of detects it and lets you use your mouse to go off the side of your screen and onto those other devices. Not screen sharing, not anything like that, but just go off of your Mac onto your iPad and just grab files that you need and just pull them back onto your Mac as if you're moving them between 2 screens on the same system. It looks magical. It's apparently a little bit less complex in reality than you would think. It just, if it knows that you've got a computer nearby, it will just kind of, when you go to the side of the screen, it'll assume that that's where you put it and move on to it. So if you put an iPad on the left of your screen and then pushed your mouse over to the right hand side of the screen as if you're trying to move onto it, it will let you go and pop in on the other side. So you can confuse this thing. It's not unbeatable, but it's certainly a nice little feature that they've added. In terms of when I think it will be released, though, because that was actually your question, I've just gone off on one. I think we're probably going to be looking later this month. I think we'll definitely have it before Christmas. I would hope in November, as I would hope for many other things in November, like my Mac Mini. But that's going to be it for this show, guys. It's a shorter one today. So that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you already have. If you haven't, what are you doing to me? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.